A faint distress signal echoed through the galaxy, barely registering on any major scanners. It originated from a distant sector deep in the uncharted regions of space, one that had been ignored by most of the galactic civilizations. The Council of Worlds had little to no interest in this area. It was considered too remote, too dangerous, and too insignificant to warrant attention. The signal was weak, almost desperate. No one knew who it came from or what it was about, but it was urgent. The cry for help seemed to beg for an answer. And so, a single council ship was dispatched to investigate. The crew of the ship, led by Captain Eris, didn't expect to find much. It was just a routine mission. The crew joked about the wasted time, wondering what could possibly be so important in the void of space. However, as they approached the coordinates where the signal originated, they saw something they weren't prepared for. A massive ship, human in design, as confirmed by their scanners, was floating in space, heavily damaged. Its hull was scarred, the ship appeared to be drifting aimlessly, and there was no sign of life aboard. The human-made ship had been under attack, its defensive systems had been disabled, and it seemed to be a ghost ship, abandoned and lost. The council ship moved closer, preparing to send out a search party to investigate. But as they drew near, something unexpected happened. The damaged human ship's systems suddenly powered up, and a broadcast emerged, piercing through the silence of space. The message was not a simple distress call. It was something far more chilling. "This is Earth. You made a mistake." The message sent a wave of fear across the entire council. They had heard of Earth, an insignificant planet by their standards, with a history of primitive warfare and a newly emerging presence in the galactic sphere. They had dismissed Earth as a non-threatening species, too young, too fractured to be of any concern. But now, a single message, transmitted with cold, calculated precision, shattered that illusion. Earth was not the weak, young species they had assumed. Earth was angry, and they had just made their first move. The council gathered in emergency session. The ships that had ventured to investigate the human signal had returned, but their commanders were visibly shaken. The one message from Earth had thrown them off balance. What did it mean? Earth had been silent for years, slowly building their presence in the galaxy. Colonies had been established on distant moons and planets, but there had been no signs of significant military advancements. No warnings, no threats. Earth had been content to observe, or so it seemed. Now, the message was clear. You made a mistake. No one knew exactly what that meant. What mistake had they made? The council's leaders spoke in hushed tones. Some were adamant about the need to confront Earth directly, to demand an explanation. Others, more cautious, advised waiting and observing. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the humans were preparing for something far more aggressive. The message was not a declaration of war, but it was a warning. They had been silent for far too long, watching from the shadows. They had let the galaxy underestimate them, allowed the council to ignore their capabilities. But now, with one simple message, Earth had revealed that they were no longer willing to be silent. The ships they had quietly built in the depths of their colonies were finally ready, and the galaxy was not prepared for what would come next. A few weeks later, a massive human warship emerged from the shadows of a distant asteroid field. It wasn't just a ship, it was a leviathan, a behemoth of metal and firepower that dwarfed anything the Council had ever seen. The Council had never expected Earth to possess such advanced technology, nor had they realized the lengths to which humanity had gone to build it. No one had ever seen a warship like this. It was unlike anything the galaxy had encountered, a fusion of alien technology scavenged from ancient wrecks and human ingenuity that had surpassed even their own expectations. The warship's arrival was swift. It traveled across the void of space with such precision and speed that the galactic forces had no time to react. Their sensors couldn't track it. Their weapons couldn't reach it. And then, when it arrived at the Council's doorstep, it unleashed a barrage of power that shattered the defenses of entire fleets in a matter of seconds. This was no ordinary attack. The ship's weapons tore through the Council's lines like paper. And the message sent back to the galaxy was simple: we are here, and we will not be ignored. Earth had arrived. The galaxy trembled as the human warship tore through the vast reaches of space, unchallenged and unstoppable. It had come with a singular purpose: no negotiations, no compromises. The message was loud and clear: Earth was no longer the weak, silent planet it had once been. It was a force to be reckoned with. Back at the Council of Worlds, panic spread like wildfire. No one had expected this. No one had prepared for it. The galaxy had underestimated Earth for centuries, viewing its species as primitive, disorganized, and incapable of major influence. Now, in a single move, humans had proven that assumption was a dangerous mistake. The human warship, now called the Earth Reaper by those who survived its wrath, had proven itself to be more than just a symbol. It was a weapon of mass destruction, crafted with the sole intent of teaching the galaxy a lesson: never underestimate Earth again. News of the Reaper's arrival spread like wildfire, reaching every corner of the galaxy. The Council scrambled to understand how the humans had achieved such technological advancements. Where had they obtained the resources to build such a vessel? How had they developed weapons that could tear through shields and armor with such ease? Rumors swirled that Earth had secretly acquired advanced alien technology, perhaps scavenging from the wreckage of long-dead civilizations scattered across the galaxy. Some claimed that humanity had made alliances with ancient races, while others suggested the Reaper was the product of their own unrelenting ingenuity. Whatever the truth, one fact was undeniable: the Reaper was unstoppable. While the Council debated their next move, humanity's message rang through the galaxy, broadcasted on every frequency they could reach. We are Earth. We demand respect. The Reaper's first target was a Council fleet on the fringe of the galaxy, tasked with patrolling the borders of human space. The human ship appeared without warning, and within minutes, it had obliterated the fleet. The survivors barely had time to retreat, their ships scattered and disoriented in the chaos. The human ship showed no mercy, striking with precision and deadly force. With the fleet decimated, the Earth Reaper left behind only destruction and confusion. It didn't linger. It didn't offer terms. It simply left a single, haunting message before vanishing back into the void of space. Do not test us again. The Council was in disarray. Some called for immediate retaliation, others for diplomacy. But the truth was clear: Earth had made its statement. The galaxy had been warned. In the days that followed, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The Earth Reaper had been seen in multiple systems, always appearing without warning and vanishing just as quickly. It didn't attack every target, but those it did choose were decimated without mercy. The Council's forces were helpless to stop it, their best warships outclassed and overwhelmed by the might of Earth's technology. At the same time, a strange calm settled over Earth itself. The humans didn't seem eager for war, but neither did they shy away from it. They were prepared, ready to face whatever the galaxy threw at them. Their message had been sent, and now they waited, confident in their power. On the fringes of human space, scattered colonies were emboldened. The humans who lived on these distant worlds no longer feared the wrath of the Council or any of the galaxy's other powers. They knew that Earth would protect them. Earth had the strength to defend its own, and no one would dare to challenge them without facing the full might of the Reaper. The rest of the galaxy was forced to reckon with a new reality. Earth was no longer just another backwater planet. It was a power, a force, a threat that could no longer be ignored. The Council convened in secret. Representatives from every known civilization came together, discussing what actions to take in response to Earth's sudden rise. Some called for an immediate show of force, while others pushed for diplomacy. But no one had a clear answer. The galaxy was paralyzed with fear, unsure of how to deal with this new, powerful force. And all the while, Earth watched. The message was sent once again. This time, it was a direct communication, transmitted to every corner of the galaxy, bypassing the Council's control. The message was brief, but its impact was felt immediately. We are Earth. We are ready. The galaxy held its breath. What did that mean? Was Earth preparing for war? Or was it something else entirely? One thing was certain: Earth had changed the rules. And now, the galaxy would have to learn to live with that fact. As Earth's message resonated across the galaxy, the atmosphere in the Council chambers grew tense. Representatives from dozens of species sat in silence, each contemplating the ramifications of Earth's rise. For centuries, they had governed the galaxy through treaties, alliances, and sheer force. Now, one single species had shattered the fragile peace they had maintained, and no one knew how to respond. The Council had always been confident that their power was absolute, that no species, not even humanity, could challenge them. Earth, in their eyes, was young, primitive. How had it come to this? How had Earth, a species they considered insignificant just years ago, now become the one thing they feared most? Captain Tvar, a senior officer from the Luron Dominion, was the first to speak. Her voice echoed across the chamber, sharp and full of authority. We cannot allow this. Earth's actions threaten the stability of the galaxy. If they think they can just demand respect, we must show them their place. Her words were met with murmurs of agreement from the more aggressive members of the Council, but not everyone shared her views. A representative from the peaceful Ishan Collective, a group of species dedicated to nonviolence, shook their head. Attacking Earth would be a mistake, he said quietly. They have proven themselves powerful, yes, but they have also shown restraint. Perhaps we can find another way, a diplomatic solution. The debate raged on for hours. But as the meeting wore on, a chilling realization began to settle over the Council. Earth wasn't interested in diplomacy. Earth wasn't interested in playing by the old rules. Earth was ready to fight, and they were willing to do whatever it took to make the galaxy respect them. Meanwhile, far from the political machinations of the Council, humanity's leaders gathered in secret, hidden away from the prying eyes of the galaxy. They were fully aware that the Council was planning a response, but they were confident in their position. Earth had already proven itself. The Reaper was but the first of many ships they had built in preparation for this moment. The galaxy may have underestimated humanity, but that was their mistake. Earth's war machine was not limited to the Reaper. That ship had been a symbol, a message, but behind it lay fleets of other ships, each one a testament to humanity's innovation and determination. The galaxy's civilizations had thought humans were weak, divided, and inexperienced. Now they were about to learn just how wrong they had been. In the heart of the galaxy, in the heavily fortified planet of Alara, the Council of Worlds convened again. This time, however, it was not just about debating Earth's actions. It was about finding a solution to the growing threat. The galactic forces were divided. Half urged for peace, while the other half called for war. Captain Tvar stood again, her presence commanding attention. We have seen what Earth is capable of. We cannot wait any longer. We need to strike now, before they become a true threat. But the Ishan representative was not convinced. We cannot let fear dictate our actions. What if Earth is not looking for war? What if they are simply asserting their right to exist in the galaxy? The debate continued, but no resolution was reached. As the Council struggled to find a common ground, Earth's ships continued to move, silent and deadly, on the outer edges of Council space. On Earth, President Adam Reeves stood before the assembly of his closest advisors. The galaxy won't wait for us to make a move. They already see us as a threat, whether we want to be or not. But they need to understand something. We will not be bullied. We will not bow to anyone. The room was filled with the hum of quiet approval. The humans knew they were on the precipice of something monumental, but they also knew they could not back down. The galaxy was watching, and they had to prove that Earth was not the weak, fragile species they once thought it was. A deep voice from the corner of the room broke the silence. We should strike first. We have the power, the ships, and the strategy. If we wait for them to come to us, it will be too late. President Reeves paused, considering the options. It was a dangerous proposition, but it was also the only one that would send the message they needed to send. No, he said firmly. We will not start a war, but we will defend ourselves. And we will make sure they know that Earth will not be an easy target. The Reaper was ready. The human fleet had been preparing for months, building its strength, testing its weapons, and coordinating its forces. The moment was fast approaching. The galaxy had watched Earth, thinking it was a quiet, isolated species. Now, that perception was about to be shattered forever. As the Reaper and its fleet of ships powered up, a new signal was sent across the galaxy. The message was short but unmistakable. We are Earth, and we are coming. The galaxy, once so confident in its power, now found itself on the edge of uncertainty. Earth had made its intentions clear, and the Council had no idea how to respond. Would they attack Earth? Would they negotiate? Or would they simply stand by and watch as the humans took their place among the stars? One thing was certain. The galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. The Reaper cut through the stars like a harbinger of doom. its engines leaving behind a trail of light that seemed to burn through the very fabric of space. As it moved deeper into the galaxy, humanity's presence was unmistakable. The galaxy had been warned, but now it was time for the reality of that warning to be felt. The Council of Worlds was paralyzed. Discussions were no longer about whether to act, but about how to act. Earth had taken its place among the galactic powers, and no one was sure how to handle it. Some factions pushed for a full-scale military response, while others still clung to the hope of diplomacy. But the damage had been done. The first attack had left the Council in a state of chaos, and there was no going back now. In the heart of the galaxy, the once proud seat of the Council stood silent. Representatives from countless civilizations gathered, but their unity had cracked. Now, it was each species for itself. The fear was palpable, and the question that lingered over every meeting was the same. How could they face Earth? On Earth, President Reeves sat at his desk, the weight of the galaxy's uncertainty pressing on his shoulders. His advisors stood around him, their faces grim. "We've done what we needed to do," he said, his voice steady. "The galaxy knows we are not to be underestimated. But we can't let this escalate into full-scale war." "We don't have a choice, sir," General Stroud interjected. "The galaxy won't let us go unchecked. They'll come for us eventually." "We're not looking for a fight," President Reeves replied. "But we are prepared for one. We'll defend Earth, and we'll defend those who are with us." Stroud nodded. "Understood, sir." The room fell into a tense silence. No one wanted war, but everyone knew it was on the horizon. The human fleet was ready, and Earth had made its stance clear. They were not going to be bullied. In the depths of the galaxy, the Council finally made a decision. They would strike first. It was a desperate move, but there was no other choice. If Earth was allowed to continue unchallenged, it would only grow stronger. The galaxy could not afford to let humanity take control. The Council's fleets were mobilized, their weapons primed, and their forces assembled. But as the first fleet advanced toward Earth, they encountered something they had not anticipated. The humans weren't running in fear. They weren't hiding. They were waiting. The human fleet, led by the Reaper, lay in ambush. The vast expanse of space was eerily quiet, the calm before the storm. And then, in an instant, the Reaper struck. The first wave of Council ships was obliterated before they could even react. The humans had calculated every move, every angle, and every strategy. Their weapons hit with deadly precision, and their tactics were flawless. The Council's fleet was decimated in moments. The survivors scattered, trying to retreat, but the Reaper pursued them with relentless efficiency. There was no mercy, no second chances. The humans had shown the galaxy exactly what they were capable of. Back on Earth, the victory was bittersweet. The human fleet had emerged triumphant, but the cost of war was never something to celebrate. The galaxy had now seen humanity's true power, but that also meant Earth would never again be able to retreat into the shadows. The galaxy would never forget what Earth had done. President Reeves watched the reports flood in. The Reaper had succeeded, but the message had been sent. The galaxy knew Earth was a force to be reckoned with, but what would happen next? Could humanity maintain its strength in the face of inevitable retaliation? "We've made our mark," he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else in the room. "But now we must prepare for what comes next." Across the galaxy, the Council was reeling from their defeat. The message was clear. Earth was no longer just another planet in the far reaches of the galaxy. It was a power, and the Council would have to decide whether to treat it as an ally or an enemy. On the battlefield, Earth had shown its strength, but the true test was yet to come. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. And now, as the dust settled, the question remained. Would the galaxy accept Earth, or would it seek revenge for the blow it had just received? The galaxy had never been more uncertain. Earth's sudden emergence as a formidable force had shaken the foundations of power that had existed for millennia. The Council of Worlds, once a symbol of unity, was now a fractured institution, struggling to maintain control over a galaxy that was rapidly slipping out of their hands. On Earth, President Reeves stood before his advisors once more. His expression was steely, yet the weight of what was to come was clear in his eyes. "We've made our point," he said. "The Reaper has shown them what we're capable of. Now, it's time to decide our future." General Stroud spoke up. "We've crippled their fleets, but they won't stand by quietly. The Council will regroup, and come for us. We need to prepare for the worst. I know, Reeves replied, his tone resolute. But we will not be the aggressors. We will defend Earth and anyone who stands with us. We've already shown them that we will not be intimidated. Now we wait. The room was filled with tension as the human leaders absorbed the weight of the situation. Earth had changed the galactic order, but now the question was whether the galaxy would accept Earth's new role in it, or whether they would continue to treat humanity as a threat to be extinguished. Far across the galaxy, the remnants of the Council fleet regrouped. They had suffered heavy losses, but they still had the resources to mount a counteroffensive. The once proud factions now whispered of revenge, their pride wounded and their resolve hardened. They had underestimated humanity, and they would not make that mistake again. But there was a problem. Earth's victory had forced even the most hardened warriors to reconsider. What if humanity's strength was not just a fluke? What if they had truly surpassed the technological and strategic capabilities of the galaxy's greatest powers? Captain Tvar, of the Luron Dominion, paced in the war room, her hands clenched into fists. We cannot allow this. Earth has humiliated us, and now they think they can control the galaxy. We must act quickly. But the Ishan representative, who had once advocated for peace, shook his head. If we strike now, we risk total war. Earth has proven itself. If we attack again, we will only ensure that we lose everything. We need to reconsider. This could be the beginning of a new order in the galaxy, one where Earth is a part of it. Tvar glared at him, her expression hardening. Do you truly believe that we can coexist with a species that has shown so much power? If we do nothing, Earth will only grow stronger. We cannot afford to wait. Back on Earth, the message that had been sent was loud and clear. The galaxy had underestimated humanity. The Reaper had destroyed entire fleets with surgical precision, and the surviving ships had retreated, leaving Earth's military unchallenged. But President Reeves knew that this was only the beginning. The Council would rebuild, and they would come back stronger. However, humanity's place in the galaxy had irrevocably changed. No longer would Earth be a footnote, a young and insignificant planet. Earth was now a power, and its influence would spread across the stars. But what would that mean for the future? We've proven we can defend ourselves, Reeves said, his gaze distant as he watched the stars through the window. But the true test will be whether we can live among the others, or if they will always see us as a threat. General Stroud spoke, his voice steady but filled with caution. We've taken the first step, sir, but there's still much to be done. The galaxy is watching. The next move is ours. The Council of Worlds had reached a crossroads. They could not erase the memory of Earth's power, nor could they ignore the message it had sent. Earth was no longer just a footnote in galactic history. It was a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy had to decide whether to accept it or face the consequences of underestimating humanity once again. Across the stars, emissaries were sent, not to declare war, but to understand. Earth had shown its strength, but now the galaxy needed to understand what humanity wanted. Were they seeking dominance, or simply a place among the stars? In time, emissaries would arrive on Earth, but they came with respect, not fear. They had learned from the Reaper's assault that Earth was no longer a species to be dismissed. Humanity had carved its place in the galactic order, and now the question was whether they would accept the responsibility that came with it. President Reeves stood at the helm of Earth's future, knowing that their next steps would shape the galaxy for generations to come. Earth was no longer a child of the stars. It had become a power that would no longer be ignored. And as the emissaries arrived, they were met with open arms, but also with the undeniable presence of a species that had proven its worth. The galaxy had learned to respect humanity, but now they would have to learn to live with it.